Hey, and welcome back to the final video in our series on taking a shed in Revit and editing it into a tiny home. In this final video, I'm going to show you how to prepare your two different 3D views to be ready for adding them to your sheet, as well as adding your floor plan and both views to the sheet. Let's get started. We are first going to begin by heading into your floor plan tab and ensuring that your plan that you made is fitting all within the 4 pointing arrows. They have fancy names. I can never remember what they are. Making sure that your plan is fit within there. If you want to be really particular, you should be able to take this entire thing and just recenter it within the space if you so desire. The next thing we want to do is if your 3D views are not open, go ahead and open up both of your 3D views, both your hidden roof 3D view and your 3D view with a roof. We want to check to make sure that we have made any changes that we need to the outside of our tiny home, making sure that we don't have any walls sticking out beyond our roof, ensuring that we don't have any windows projecting out. And then the final thing before we leave this tab is we want to make sure that we've clicked on the little house up on the top. When you're making a sheet or when you go to turn your sheet into a PDF, any view that you're on, as far as whatever angle you're looking at this particular 3D view in, will be the angle that it appears on your printed final PDF. So we always like to print from the home view. So I've done that on the view with my roof, and I'm also going to do that going to the orientation cube, clicking on the house, and changing this view so it is showing my home view of my plan without a roof. So now I'm all set with my 3 different views I'll be adding to my sheet to get my sheet ready. To begin with your sheet, you're going to actually go to your project browser, scroll down to the bottom, and if you cannot see the 2 sheets that have already been created in this template, go ahead and click on the little plus sign next to sheets. I had mine open, but you can see that they minimize and expand depending on that plus sign. Now I'm going to actually double click on my shed edit, and you can see that when I go to my sheet for my shed edit, I'm literally running into a problem. My tiny home is far larger than my shed was, and now my tiny home is running into the 3D views of my print. I could just make this work and move some things around and be happy with it, but I actually already made you a larger sheet here with a bigger piece of paper. So let's add our views. There's one little trick though. Before we can add anything to our tiny home sheet, we actually need to go in to our shed edit sheet and we need to delete this sheet. So I'm going to begin by closing out the tab, and then on my project browser, I'm going to select or make the shed edit sheet blue, and then with my mouse, I'm going to right click. If I'm using a trackpad, it's 2 fingers. With my mouse and right clicking, a window comes up. I'm going to click on delete. And now I no longer have that other sheet, which is super important for this next step. I'm now on my tab for my tiny home sheet, and I'm ready to begin. What we're going to do is we're going to be taking 4 views from our project browser window, and we're going to be sliding them into our new, bigger, expanded sheet. Let's start with our floor plan. You're going to go to your views all, go to the list where it says floor plan, and you're going to find floor. Click on it and turn it blue. Please make sure you're not under ceiling plans. You're going to see something look funny when you move that in. And now that I have floor selected blue, I'm going to take this, I'm going to click and I'm going to slide and I'm going to start dragging in. Oops, I have to be on the word, not the box. I'm going to click, I'm going to slide, and I'm going to start dragging in my floor plan. Now don't panic, it's really big. We're going to fix that later, but I want to make sure that the word floor way down in the bottom left corner is showing up, and I have my floor plan in. So this is not the best positioning. You can see that I have these arrows helping me out with my placement, but I have slid my whole floor plan over too far and it's almost touching my title block. So I'm actually going to move this just a little bit, just kind of trying out different positions. I'm purposefully trying to get my 2 arrows on the top and on the side all the way off of this title block. And now I'm going to click in the white background and I'm going to take the word floor and I'm going to move it closer so it's inside the space, very close to my floor plan. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to hide this thing. So I'm going to go to my floor plan. I'm going to click and drag and make a box around this. I'm then going to right click on it. I'm going to go to hide in view and I'm going to choose elements. It hides it on this tab, but it's also going to hide it on my sheet. So my sheet looks a little more presentable. I also don't want this one on here. So I'm going to do the same thing with that one. I'm going to go back to my floor plan. I'm going to click and drag and make a selection around that. I'm going to right click, hide in view, and elements. And now those are gone. When I was looking in my tiny home, I noticed that I had some dimensions here. I like those dimensions for the window. However, they're sticking out a little bit too far for my liking. So I'm actually just going to click and slide and see if I can move those in. There we go, just tightening those in. And what it looks like on this view is what it's going to look like here. So that looks much better. Oh, it actually didn't change it. That's okay. Now I want to get my 2 3D views in. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab my 3D hidden roof view. I'm going to click and drag and slide that in. I'm going to place my hidden roof view in. I'm going to go to my 3D view with roof. I'm going to click, drag, I'm going to let go, and a box is going to show up. And I'm going to place that one in. And then I'm going to place a 3rd view down in this all big lineup. I'm going to post my east view. I'm going to choose my east view because it's actually my view with my front door on it. So I'm going to choose my east view. I'm going to click and slide, and I'm going to move that in. And I don't love the way that's looking right now. So I'm actually just going, because I don't like that it's intersecting here. So rather than have it all in a line, I'm going to move it up. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to just use my arrow keys and move this one up. And I'm just trying to more evenly space all of my views out. If I want to, I can move this over. I want to have these lined up. Looking for that blue dotted line. And there we go. Now my sheet is nearly set. If you don't have your name showing up here in your title block, please make sure that you scroll in, you double click, and you add your name. If your name isn't showing, or if green architecture isn't showing up here, double click and add green architecture. Again, if tiny home isn't showing up, double click and add tiny home. You can add in your author, that's you, checked by, if your teacher checked it out. If you'd like to add a date to this so you can look back on it in a whole bunch of years and say, wow, look at that cool project I made, you can add your issue date or whatever today's date might be. Now your sheet is all ready to export. Reference my previous video on how to export. Those steps work for any size sheet. Just make sure you're paying close attention to where you're saving that file that you export. And like always, make sure you do a Control S to save all that progress that you just made.